Hello, welcome to another coffee break with Kardec. This break that we have to save us some coffee, some tea, or hot chocolate. And while we do that, we always talk about one particular aspect of the book Genesis, one of the 5 books that compose this Spiritist main books, the Pentateuch, and the most scientific amongst the books. And today the topic for our coffee break is the incarnation of spirits. This is in chapter 11 of the book Genesis. So the process of incarnation of spirits wasn't very well understood until the spirits, they came and gave us this information, which is compiled in this book of Genesis in chapter 11. So what do they teach us? So they teach us that the union of the spirit and the body, the process that occurs during incarnation, is a process that starts at the very beginning of a new life here, which is the moment of conception. And we'll then see why. So, but before that, we have to understand what the spirit is and how this process is possible. I mean, to have the spirit incarnating in a physical body. How does it happen? I mean, how is the spirit attached to a physical body? What is behind all that? So before anything else, it's important to understand the nature of the spirit. And what spirits they tell us is that the spirit is something indefinite, abstract. It is real. It's different from abstract. Abstract because it can be conceived by us in terms of our material world, the world that we are used to. So what they say is that this nature of the spirit is of a different nature of anything else that is in the creation. So we have God in the creation. We have the spiritual principle, which is the intelligent principle, where the spirits, they come from. And we have the material principle. Material, I mean, in a broader sense, not only the dense matter that we find in our physical world, but also the fluidic matter, as it were, that compose the spiritual world. So what we're going to see is that how is it possible for a spirit, which is of a different nature, act upon dense matter? So what the spirits, they tell us is that the spirit is indefinite, is abstract, although it is real. So we can imagine the spirit as a spark or anything else. We have difficulty to imagine something that is abstract, something that is indefinite. So we can imagine it as a spark, as a spark of light, something like that, a flame or something, although they are material. But it's the best representation we can get for us to understand. So what the spirits tell us is that, well, to act upon matter, we need something material in between the spirit and this dense matter that we have here in our physical world. So they present to us this envelope that goes around. We say around for the lack of a better word to understand that. Because in the physical world, we are always based in space, in one thing in front of the other, inside other. So we imagine that this envelope, fluidic envelope, made out of a semi-material substance, which is something that comes also from the universal cosmic fluid, just like dense matter. But it is a different product, which is subtle, is not tangible in our physical world because it's made out of a semi-material substance. Okay, so it needs that. And Kardec, in the book, he presents the information given by spirits that we have this semi-material envelope called perispirit. Peri, because it goes around the spirit, is something that envelops the spirit, although we know that the spirit is of a different nature. But we imagine this spark enveloped by a fluidic semi-material envelope. And it is this very same semi-material envelope, the perispirit, that allows the spirit to act upon dense matter. And there are different processes. And the process we are going to see today in our coffee break is the one of incarnation. But this very same envelope allows the spirit to act upon fluids, which are composed a byproduct of the very same universal cosmic fluid, just as the perispirit and the dense physical world. So how is it possible for a spirit to incarnate in a physical body? So what the spirits, they tell us is that the process of incarnation, it starts when the sperm meets the egg. We have to see what happens in the physical level and what happens in the spiritual level. In the physical level, what we have is we have two cells that get together and then compose what we call a zygote. And the zygote is the beginning of a new physical body. So the cell now that is formed, the egg, will divide itself, and in this process will multiply itself. It follows a kind of automatic process which has been developed over this period of 4.5 billion years that the planet was formed. So the planet was formed, and through this 4.5 billion years, we know that life evolved, appeared and evolved here in the planet. So through this process, it became more and more sophisticated until the point that we have the process of generating new, in our case, human beings, new physical bodies. So it works according to natural laws. They meet and they split. And from this process of splitting, time after time, so you have the formation of new cells and composing a new physical body. Okay. For that process to occur, it is also necessary the vital energy. I'm not talking about the spirit, I'm talking about the vital energy. So it's a process that takes place on its own. While there is vital energy in this zygote, it multiplies, it creates a body. Once this vital energy, vital principle disappears, the body, as it were, disintegrates. So the components will return to Earth to form other bodies, minerals, vegetables, whatever. This is a natural process. So where is the mingling of the spirit in this process for the spirit to incarnate in the physical world? Well, since the very beginning, this process can be guided, and it is guided by what we call a matrix that will guide this natural process, which is the perispirit. I usually make an analogy with a car. You have the car body, the engine. It doesn't function unless you have fuel, and you start it, of course, but you have fuel. So we can see the body as the initial cell, and the vital principle as the fuel that allows the body, the car, to function. Without fuel, no functioning. It's just a dead car. Without fuel, it can function. But if your car is functioning, it may stay there and do nothing. So we need an intelligence to guide this car. And the intelligence is the spirit, is the driver. But how is it possible for the driver to act upon the car to make it move and go wherever the driver wants? It needs the steering wheel, it needs the pedals, it needs the gear, it needs the to start the engine using a button or a key or whatever. This is the perispirit. The perispirit makes possible for the spirit to act upon something that is already there, but is not intelligent as such. So this process takes place molecule by molecule, as Kardec points out. providing them the union of the physical body with the perispirit. So we may imagine that the perispirit has got, I wouldn't say cells, but something similar to it that is, will guide the development molecule by molecule of this body. That's why the process is the same for each one of us. We were formed by the union of the sperm and the egg, and from that, the process that took place is the same from a physical point of view. But something along the way, apart from the genetic code, because sometimes we have our brothers, and we may have something in common, but we also have things that are only particular to us. Why is that? Something along this process made us different, made our physical body different from our brothers and sisters, and even within twins you may find some difference, and we may realize one may develop a certain disease, whereas the other, although it's likely that it's going to develop, perhaps will never develop that disease. And this process is related to the guidance of the perispirit, because within the perispirit we bring the information and the needs that come from our spirit, the state of our spirit, that are imprinted in our physical body through this process of reincarnating according to our needs. We have the genetic code at our disposal, the genetic code inherited from our parents. But the way this genetic code is going to work, is it going to go this way or that way? It depends on the perispirit. Because nature is so wise that when the DNA replicates, it doesn't necessarily replicate exactly the same it was before during this process. Nature allows some kind of flexibility. Something maybe is slightly different in one replication, and that replication then goes on slightly different, and something may happen along the way again and again. And that's why this process, although it follows a natural course, it can be, how would I say, guided by the perispirit. And when we discarnate, what happens is the opposite process. We detach ourselves from molecule by molecule from the physical body, because the physical body cannot hold the vital principle working anymore, can't sustain life anymore. Because it can't sustain life anymore, the perispirit then detaches itself molecule by molecule, and it's the opposite process. So we lose these ties, and then we detach ourselves. And according to spirits, this process may be very quick, very easy, but can be very difficult as well, depending on the moral state of the spirit. The moral state of the spirit will reflect upon the perispirit, which will hold tight to that decomposing body or not. It very much depends on each individual. That's why it's important for us to prepare ourselves according to our moral level, but to improve as much as we can within our limits. Of course, we can't do miracles and turn into angels overnight, but we have to get the most of us in terms of moral development and prepare ourselves as much as possible for this moment that will come sooner or later to all of us. So it's very interesting what the spirits present us. There are greater details in spiritist books and other adjacent literature that give us more details about this process. But in general terms, this is the process of incarnating and also discarnating, a process that is natural. But it's very interesting also that for us, the spirit, during the period of pregnancy, during the period of development of the fetus into a baby, what happens to the spirit in general, because morally evolved the spirits they become aware of the situation until the last moment, the moment of birth. But most of us, we go into drowsiness and lose our conscience and only wake up in a new reality, which is the reality of a new baby. It's like writing on a diary. We write on a diary, and then when we turn the page, we close the book, and then we open again. It's a new page. We don't remember exactly what we've written in the previous pages, but it's there. And then we start a new chapter. And we start a new chapter with all the information we bring, the formation we bring, achievements, aptitudes from the previous chapters. But it is a new chapter. And then we write in this new chapter. And we regain, we are, as the spirits put, a new being with old aptitudes, with old background, that now is going to help us improve a little more. And then we start to write this chapter. And again, when it's over, we close our diary or our book. And then when we open, it's a new page, a new chapter, where we forget while we're writing, forget what we've written before, but whatever we've gained during this previous process, it is there with us. That's what I had for our coffee break today. Hope you've enjoyed it, and hope to see you again in our next coffee break with Kardec.